He can cook. He can cook real good.
Scottie Baldwin could melt a woman's heart with a frying pan. He could also crack her head open with it.
I never thought that it would happen to me.
Karina found out the hard way that Baldwin is a man of many faces. Over the years, he's become an especially familiar face at the Milwaukee County Jail, accused of 22 separate crimes, many of them for kicking, punching, grabbing, slapping, pushing, swatting, beating, chasing, slashing, and threatening to kill the women who loved him. And according to court records, he broke a beer bottle over one girlfriend's face and gave her 17 stitches. Another woman accused him of cracking her in the head with a pan, leaving her with 8 staples.
Those girls provoked him. That's what I used to say.
Until the day Scottie accused her of cheating.
And next thing I know, I was punched in the face. And blood was just coming out of my nose. I'd never been hit in the face like that.
The beating would go on for hours.
Kicking me and beating me from room to room to room.
And hours.
He was choking me on the floor.
And hours.
Lord, let this be over. Lord, don't let me die. Let me live.
Karina asked us not to use her real name or show her face, but she was the only victim to show up in court and testify against Baldwin.
A lot of women won't come forward. They call the police, but they don't follow through with everything.
Assistant Milwaukee DA Jeff Gripe says there's a good reason for that.
It's not safe enough. It's a dangerous system.
He leads a sensitive crimes unit that reviews thousands of domestic violence cases every year. Almost every day, they charge someone with battering a loved one, while that same offender has an open criminal case for battering the same victim.
Today we're dealing with a very, very, very serious safety issue for these victims, where offenders are beating them while their case is pending, and it has to stop.
Jamar Warner was accused of punching his girlfriend in the mouth and kicking her while she was down. Prosecutors charged him with battery. He was released, and 10 days later, the victim told police Warner wrapped a belt around his fist and punched her with the buckle. Only this time, the DA says he wasn't just beating his girlfriend. He was battering the state's key witness.
Battery to witness is one of the most serious charges that we can file because it's a threat against the victim and it's a threat against the criminal justice system.
It's also a felony, but prosecutors never charged Warner with that crime. In fact, they almost never charge anyone with battery to a witness. To understand why, just hop on the bus.
If you get on a public bus, you have more protections.
Wisconsin state law makes it an automatic felony to assault a passenger on public transit.
If you ride a public bus today and you are battered, it doesn't matter why, that's a felony.
The wording of Wisconsin's witness protection law is far more restrictive. It requires the state to prove why a defendant brutalized a witness.
What was in the offender's mind? What's the motive for the assault?
It's a burden of proof so high, Gripe says, he can only remember clearing it once. "5 years ago, Lonnie Meyer tried to hire an undercover detective to break his girlfriend's jaw, and it was this jailhouse phone call that did him in. Abusers rarely announce their motives so plainly, so in almost every other case,
all we can do today is charge yet another misdemeanor offense, despite how much more aggravated that is to the system.
Jamar Warner's been charged with misdemeanor battery 5 times in 2 years. All 5 cases were dismissed when his accuser failed to appear. And Assemblyman Mark Gundrum is trying to do something about it. He introduced legislation that would make battery to a witness a Class D felony, worth up to 25 years in prison. And under his bill, the state would need only to prove the defendant caused bodily harm to a witness, no matter what the reason.
What this does is create a special sort of shield of protection around the victim, around a witness to a case.
It's a protective shield that will be a part of this victim as long as this criminal case is pending.
This allows us to get at that pattern of coercion and control. Batterers do this as part of what they do in their life. they harass and intimidate to keep the person in their control. So
Carmen Petrie is director of Milwaukee's Task Force on Family Violence. She says it's the only way to get through to offenders like Scottie Baldwin.
we need to hold him accountable. And every time he chooses to be violent, we need to be there with stiffer penalties and more jail time and more control.
I couldn't see my family, couldn't talk to my friends.
Karina finally escaped Scottie's control, and to this day, she remains the only victim who took the stand and put the man of many faces in jail.
Once I closed the door, I didn't open it anymore.